Hey legends, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Big stories and headlines in the AFL this week. Buddy plays 350 games. We've got Tex Walker. Yes, he kicks a bag times 2. He kicks 10. We got 2-meter Peter kicks 5 also. The bigs were on fire around the league. There's so much going on.
Wait, surely.
What?
And we'll talk about the Petracca thing.
Yeah, we'll save that for the end.
Okay.
But settle in. It's going to be a great episode. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Welcome, Braden.
Oh, my goodness, Mace. We are, I normally say g'day, but it's g'night because we're post-game after the MCG clash against Melbourne Demons. But we'll get to that because we have plenty to talk about this week. So we'll jump in, as we always do, with our clanger, and I'm taking it outside of footy. Because this one, I was just sitting up having a nice glass of red, the Shiraz, and I was watching the cricket.
Box one.
And Stephen Smith, Smudger, as you would obviously know that he's...
I've met Steve Smith, actually. You wouldn't believe it.
Oh, really?
I shook his hand, yeah.
Well, maybe have a word to him because this was out of line. I'm hitting him up with a clanger and I'm clanging him hard. So he's facing the bowler's about to run in, Steve Smith, the world's watching, the big stage over there, and he stops the whole game. He points out a bloke sitting second story back row. He says, that guy there wearing a red shirt, can't have that. Get him out of here.
Okay.
Get him out of here. He's putting me off. This guy, so they got the sight screen, and so you can see the bowler coming in and you can see the ball in his hand and stuff. And this guy is about 50 meters above the bloody sight screen, out having a beer because he's paid his admission money.
He wasn't waving a flag or doing anything distractive?
Having a quiet beer, second level back row. So, and he's like, the guy moves a few seats over and he's like, okay, sits back down. And he's like, no, get out. Get out. So the security coming in and the security is like, oh, I'm sorry, man. It's like,
what an awkward chat.
Like Steve Smith. So he drags him out underneath this like scaffolding and he's like watching between this scaffolding, drinking his beer.
Wow. I hope he gets a refund.
I would have told him.
That's cooked.
Get stuffed.
That's
I know he's one of ours, but mate, come on.
I just took the shirt off. Just like, you don't like the color red? How about pasty white?
Well, you can, yeah. Man, if I sat down with no shirt, that's like a reflector.
That's exactly. That's even worse.
That's way worse. So I'm giving Steve Smith the big clanger. You can't be doing that, Smith. Come on, Smudge.
I'll go with my clanger. It's a very interesting one, close to home. Now, my father and my mother are both in town still, and my dad, he went out for a few drinks with another player's parents the other day, right? And I got sent a video from my mother of my dad doing a bit of a jig, a little Ken Hinkley jig, as you know, in the Huff House over there in Melbourne. They had a little night out. And apparently, rumor on the street is he was getting fed free drinks because the other person's dad was saying, oh, Collingwood family here, Mason Cox's dad over there. And they were just hyped. Some Collingwood fans in there, and they were just giving him drinks left, right, and center, having a good old time. And the video will forever live in infamy in our family group chat.
Hey, at least it worked. Like if he was like, hey, it's Mason Cox's dad, and they were like, yes, so that's pretty good. And
he wears Collingwood kit everywhere. He just wants to talk about footy to everyone. It's so good.
I want to see these dance moves. You got to share this video. You got to get it out there, getting about.
I'll get approval from Dad first.
Is he doing the robot? I could see him doing the worm, the Filthy Phil worm.
Oh, that bit talent.
I learnt 2 bits of German back in the day. Du bist wunderschön, and I think that means you are beautiful.
Oh,
so I had
of course you are.
I had 2 lines. And Mulch and Zuckerbetter, which I think means milk and sugar, please, because I was like, you are beautiful is the starter, and then milk and sugar, please, in the morning, the night after.
Baristas left, right, and center. That's good, buddy. We'll get into the footy chat. Sydney versus the Saints now. Big game for Sydney. Buddy's 350th, absolute legend. Hits another milestone this week. Absolutely, just incredible what he's doing. But unfortunately, Sydney at home lose to the Saints.
Yeah. Well, it's good that the Saints are still up there. People thought they might have slid out by now, but they're sticking fast. And yeah, just another tough loss for Sydney. Got to probably think that it's over for them now. I'm going to put that out there. But yeah, Buddy Franklin, 350 games. He just keeps checking off the milestones.
Yeah.
And Obviously, he moved to 4th all-time goal kicker. That's another massive accomplishment.
He's a living legend, still playing.
Let's jump into the Western Bulldogs Port game because, boy, oh boy, if they finish top 2, they are going to be a scary prospect.
Oh, especially in Adelaide. Playing that first game in Adelaide, that's going to be a tough game for whoever's playing against them.
Oh, it's nuts. There was a fair few incidents in this game. Now, there was a great moment. It really showed where Port was at. Zach Butters and Tom Liberatore going head-to-head at a stoppage, like really lipping off to each other. And then Butters gets it, shrugs off Libba, kicks the ball in. Horn Francis picks it up, wheels around, burns like 4 players and just slots the goal. It was the moment where it's like, these guys are scary.
Legit.
Like they just moved it so smooth, like all night. It was great. Finlayson, our boy, fins up.
Fins up.
He kicked the goal and gave the shhhh celebration to the crowd, which don't we always love it? And there was a moment where Cody Waitman snapped a goal and it went through, but there was a bump on the line, a shepherd on the line. Now, normally you can borderline get away with murder on the line.
No, you can get away with murder on the line. It's not borderline at all.
It's it's like WWE spec with a steel chair. You can almost get away with it. But yeah, they called it. Shepherding on the line.
First time I've seen that in a very, very long time.
Very long time. So bit stiff. Yeah, another big win for Port. They just keep checking it off. Bulldogs still in it. But they're just, I don't know, they're making it hard on themselves.
They're going to have a nice, they're going to have a few challenges on the back end of the season to try to make that top 8. So it's going to be interesting. They're a bit of a must watch for sure. I want to give a shout out Jason Horton-Francis. Socks up. We haven't talked about it, but I'm a big fan of the socks up. So Jason Horton-Francis, you keep that up. And it's going to become a thing.
It's very Nathan Buckley-esque back in the day.
It is very much so.
Oh, let's jump into this one.
You kidding me? They're back, baby. I told you.
We have said there's a few games that you circle in the fixture. Now, Hawthorn v Brisbane. Big blockbuster clash. Brisbane coming down, they got to prove themselves at the G. Well, they couldn't do that against the lowly Hawks. It was a crazy upset. You know, Hawthorn just keeps showing signs. Last week, they got blown out of the water early against Port, and then they managed to kick 96 points or whatever. And this was another one where their offense was on point. Like, they scored a big score against a really good team and got the dub.
I mean, ever since this Tasmania team came on board, I'm just saying Hawthorn stepped it up. I'm not saying there's a coincidence here. I'm just stating facts. Ever since that announcement came out, Hawthorn kicking ass. But I will say this, for Hawthorn fans out there, I'd be very, very excited for what's to come. I think this signs like this and getting these wins against good teams, quality teams like Brisbane, it's a sign of the future that there's definitely going to be some success in a few years' time.
I like these years where a few teams that have been down the bottom for a bit, not saying that Hawthorn's one of those because obviously they just used to win everything, but you know, there's actual signs for these clubs coming through. North Melbourne showing really good signs. Yep. Hawthorn showing good signs. Essendon coming up showing good signs. Like, there's a lot of these teams this year that there's always like a transition year where some of the bigger teams start to drop down and some of the lower teams start to climb up. And you love to see it because we don't want those. We want an equal competition. We don't want, you know, Geelong in the finals every bloody year and Sydney up the top every bloody year. Give someone else a go. Rotate around a little bit. Now, there was a moment in this where Sicily got a McLuggage in a real awkward tackle. Now, the way I saw it live, I thought that it was just a really unfortunate event, like an unfortunate circumstance. It looked really ugly. McLuggage's head got caught up under his body, which really cranked his neck. And they brought the stretcher out, but it was one of those moments, and we see it, you know, fairly often where the big staunch bloke wants to walk off the ground and say that he's all right and stuff like that, when it's just, maybe we go, if the stretcher's out there, we just jump on the stretcher.
You got to take it. You don't need to lay down, maybe. You just sit on the back if you feel good enough.
Just go for a cruise, mate. There's like, I don't know. I get, like, it's great that they can show their friends and family and stuff watching along that they're okay. They can walk off under their own power, but just get on and cruise off, I reckon.
Yeah, it was a gnarly tackle. Like, in the moment, it kind of looked like just kind of, you know, bodies kind of hit each other and stuff. But looking back at it,
because there was a third body involved in there.
And it just seemed like as though, like, you know, I'm not really too sure the details. I'll have to look at it again, but it seemed as though it kind of hit his head and that kind of knocked him around for a bit. So once again, Sicily goes to the tribunal. We'll figure out kind of where it lands. It's a lot. I mean, this is happening every single game. I feel like there's someone with a question mark around it, and the MRO is getting plenty of use this year. And it's going to be interesting again to see how they determine what is correct, what's not, what's acceptable, what's not. And it'll be another opportunity for them to try to guide us in the right direction.
Oh, it's so hard because you're trying to figure out players' intent, and it's such a grey area. As we know, everything in footy is. It's just a big old grey area. As Razor Ray said, that's what we love about the game, mate. Oh, let's jump into this one because we got the big Tex Walker, Adelaide West Coast now is Tex's big 250th. 250. And came out and just shot the lights out. He kicked his first goal within like 30 seconds of the first bounce, and you knew he was on. Loves the snag, the big Texan. I feel like we did the Texas Walker Ranger. I always feel when I hear his name, it's like the showdown in like a Clint Eastwood like spaghetti western.
Real duel, just
the big Texan. We love to see it. Came out, slotted 10 goals. I think 10-1 as well. So you talk about accuracy. He's always been a great kick.
It was phenomenal. It was kind of the point where the crowd gets hyped every time the ball goes near him. You kind of get this like you hear the crowd just kind of when he kicks it and everyone loses their mind. It was cool. Like to see someone in their milestone game 250 to have his best goal kicking night of his career. I'm sure it would have meant a lot to him. And, West Coast, unfortunately, they're demolished by injury. We all know that. But for him, it would have been a cool experience to sit there and know that every single time the ball was going inside 50, you're the target. 100%.
Good news story coming out of it for West Coast. So 18-year-old mid-season rookie pick, Ryan Marek, kicked his first goal with his first kick 10 days after being picked up in the mid-season draft.
To the club, first kick, first goal.
Yeah, so it's just a good news story.
Yeah, I mean, 10 days after getting drafted, can you imagine? I'm not sure where he's from. Can you imagine going into a professional environment like West Coast, knowing what's going on there, and you're going, I'm going to have to perform at the highest level in a very, very short turnaround.
And you're going into hostile territory. You're going into Adelaide against Adelaide.
It would have been an amazing experience for him and his family, though, just to how quickly life turns around. And then they would have been so hyped. Unfortunately, they got the loss, but his family, the memory of that for him will be something he'll always look back on fondly.
And there was something, normally we don't say stuff without knowing our facts because we're a very accurate podcast, but I think they were saying that he played for 6 different clubs in the lead up to being picked up, which is crazy. So, great news story. There's plenty of those stories that are going to come out of West Coast because they're just playing whoever they can put out on the park.
And unfortunately, Nick Nat-Nui's out for the year too. So it's, I want to see him play, man. He's a phenomenal player, a guy that people just get up for. And, every time he gets around the ball, you feel like something exciting is going to happen, but unfortunately for him, the injury woes continue on, and hopefully he can get up for next year.
After I said that we were very inaccurate, I should have given myself the clanger for last week. So I think we went around in circles. So I said TIO was in Cairns.
Yeah, you screwed this up.
Which was in the no, but we both didn't pick up on this. So I said TIO was in Cairns, and Cairns was in the Northern Territory. Now, I did myself a favor and I cut out that first part, but I left the second part in as a little teaser, me saying Cairns is in Queensland, as we all know. Well, the game was at TIO in Darwin. In the Northern Territory. Yeah. Cairns, nothing to do with it. No one went to Cairns. Anyway, we love Cairns. Cairns
Twitter trolls getting after you. Is that what
Cairns, Queensland.
You get used to after a while.
Darwin, Northern Territory. We'll just clear a few things up. Let's jump over to Fremantle. Perth.
Fremantle in Perth. International game.
So Freo versus Richmond.
We've been on the Freo bandwagon. We're on the train. Choo-choo!
And I thought Longy had it all figured out and he was back on track. Now there's a little derailment. Not a big catastrophic one, just, maybe 1 or 2 wheels off the track. But Freo just couldn't get the job done over Richmond. Richmond just decided to show up.
Turn it on.
And they got another W, going back to back with it.
Coach, getting a few dubs on the board.
Now, there's one bloke that Kane Corns might have talked some shit about earlier in the year.
Who could that be?
Well, it could have been half the players in the AFL.
It could be any number of players in the AFL.
But Timmy Taranto, I don't know if you heard of this kid. He's playing some pretty good footy. He kicked another 2 goals and 35 to go with his average of 35 and about 3 goals for the year. I just want to... Do you reckon he scraped inside the top 150 Is he 149?
Maybe, yeah. Yes, I would say he's in the top 150. I think Kane Cornes now, because Tim Taranto's been playing lights out for the last few weeks. Kane Cornes is just kind of sitting in the back, just hoping no one brings it up to him.
He's got to say something big to get the heat off him. I reckon maybe Tim Taranto knocked himself into the 150 and knocked Jeremy Cameron outside.
Oh, no. We're big fans of Jez.
No, I'm just saying this is what Kane can say. Just he's got to say something to get the heat back off him.
Something more ridiculous about, yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, there was one really awesome thing about this game, and he's a lovely human. Nat Fife had a goal from the corner, it was, I think, and he just bullet darted one through the post. And good to see him back. Good to see him playing again. He's an absolute legend. I actually ran into him. It's a side story, but I actually ran into him. He was on the same flight to the US as me over the off season. Yeah. I ran into him, and he was seriously just the nicest human, most laid back, like nicest guy. And just whenever you meet those people, like away from the actual, like, you know, the gladiator type arena scenario that AFL is, and they're just genuine humans, you're like, man, I love this guy. He's such a nice fella.
Do you get starstruck by anyone in the league?
In the league? Maybe no, Buddy.
Yeah.
Buddy would be, I wouldn't say starstruck's probably the right word, but like an insane amount of respect for him. Like, I think that was the best way to put it. Because it's like, I mean, I've played against him, you shake hands, you chat on the field, all that kind of stuff. But I think whenever you see someone who's meant so much to the AFL over a long period of time like that, he's someone you, I don't know, just having, yeah, like I said, a massive, massive amount of respect for, and the way he's handled himself and everything else over the years. It's been pretty incredible.
We'll jump into the North Melbourne GWS game. Now, you know, what do you say about this game? Not a hell of a lot of action going down. Larkey with another 4 goals, the big Soof.
Nick Larkey is a shining moment for that team.
He'd be nudging 100 if he was in one of the, you know, top 8 teams. North Young Guns, you know, showed more signs again. Just keep ticking boxes.
Same as Hawthorn. I feel like North, Hawthorn, showing signs of life, showing signs that in however much time, they're going to be good. It's going to be a lot closer than people probably think. And it's going to be great because these teams that are down at the bottom, they get to move up over the ladders. Like we were 17th, I think, at one point. Then we go up to 4. Like I think one of these teams is going to be one of those in the top 8 over the next 2 years.
And shout out to Brett Ratton, who's just, you know, picked it up and ran with it. GWS, good again. I've been on the GWS bandwagon. They've dropped a couple of close losses. Toby, you know, doing Toby tings out there.
Big sounds from the west of the town.
Now let's jump into this big one because this is a mammoth game. Carlton Essendon, pre-King's birthday game, the curtain raiser to the Collingwood Melbourne game. Now, wowee. This was just, you know, it was hot because not hot in terms of pressure. Now, maybe one team brought a bit more than the other. Who am I to say? Now, there's a few things out of this. Let's pull them apart. 2 meter Peter, your eye poking mate. He's back on the scene. First game back, 5 straight.
Bag.
Now, that's great. We love seeing the big fellas do great. Maybe if you're a Carlton fan and your big fellas aren't kicking that straight and this guy comes back first game, kicks 5 snags straight on you, bit of a kick in the teeth.
Yeah.
But love to see Peter. Carlton, 33 tackles for the game. Not a lot of tackles.
It was pretty tough the way Essendon was going inside 50. They were just, it just seemed like it was bang, straight out of the middle, bang. So it seemed like it was just almost effortless at the times.
I don't know what to say about this game. It was pretty crazy. Some of Carlton's, you know, big, tough midfield players not bringing a lot of that heat. So we wait to see what the fallout from this game is, but it did have some fallout in the social sphere. I've been in the trenches with these guys, the social media guys. It's one of the hardest gigs, that and the membership crew, because they got a direct phone line straight to them on Monday mornings.
But do you actually want to buy tickets, or are you just here to bitch and complain?
It's so rough. All the staff at these clubs, I was one of them, getting paid peanuts to just get these phone calls and cop all the tweets and all the abuse. It's all great. But the social media team, they just packed her up for the third quarter, and it's like, damage control. How do we fix this? AFL also seemed to limit their post final score tweet, which is, I didn't know what to think about that one, because it's, you know, it's the community game. It's owned by the people. They should have a place to vent. But
that's what Reddit's for.
Yeah, I definitely don't condone negative stuff or any threats or any negative.
It was just, I think, like there was vision of them walking off the ground down the race, and some of the stuff that was being yelled and things like that. Like as a player, you put yourself in that situation where things are not going well. And I think Crip said after the game, like moments like these, you really have to stick together because you're going to be copping it from all angles. And I think after the game, walking down the race and people screaming at you, yelling, it's a really tough time for them at the moment to be dealing with. And obviously, there's some goal kicking woes, there's losses and everything else that's going on, and their fans are not happy. But you're the only people that can change things. You're the only people that can turn it around, or the players on that field whenever they go and take it. So, it's just they got to bond together. Hopefully, put a smile on their face, start enjoying a bit of football somehow. With obviously a lot of criticism, but I'd like to hopefully, as is crazy to say, I actually feel bad. I'll feel bad for the Carlton fans and the players, to be honest, because it's not looking like a really nice, enjoyable situation for anyone.
Yeah, don't be an idiot. Don't be all abusive and threatening and direct with it. But I can definitely see how the fans are hurting at the moment.
You can be upset, but I mean, just be mature about it.
Oh, 100%. So it's all around not great. And unfortunately, Carlton have been in this situation numerous times over the past few years. So I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some fallout from this. They got Gold Coast next week at the G, heading into the bye. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I pray for someone. I don't even know, because we like seeing Dewey win too. So it's going to be an interesting game. A lot of heat on it for both teams. They both need wins. So let's see how that goes. But I don't know. 33 tackles, probably got to get those numbers up to be fair. Let's jump into the Collingwood-Melbourne game. Just happened. This is fresh.
This is fresh. I'm so sore.
So we're just out of the game. Now let's go back. We'll get to the end of the game, but let's go back to the start of the week, because it's a big week for the club, big week for both clubs.
Yeah.
Freeze M&D round, King's birthday clash, always a big one. Now I want to start with a bit of good news story, because Charlie Dean saw this video on social media earlier in the week, coming back, training for the first time in a while. Talk us through it.
Yeah, Chaz is training for the first time in a long while. And there was a bit of murmurs and stuff, and we're in the team meeting, and all of a sudden, I see one of the physios come and grab Charlie Dean and pulls him out of the meeting. I was like, oh, it's a bit weird, And then, of course, like 30 seconds later, Fly's like, okay, everyone, so we're going to get a banner, and Charlie's going to run through the banner for his first training session probably back, right? So everyone was in on it, except for Chaz. And we all lined up, either side of the banner as you do. And as soon as he walked out, everyone claps him on, cheers him on, and everything else. And he really just runs straight through the banner, and he was so hyped. It was so good to see. Very frustrating injury kind of spell for Chaz, I'm sure, and he's handled it with such class. It's absolute credit to him and his character. But it was great to see him finally be able to, the boys get around him and him get back into training and feel like he's being progressive in his rehab.
That's so good to see. You guys are doing a lot right on and off the field. Pre-game, Neil came out. You did the Guard of Honor.
Yeah, that was unique. That was I didn't really know that was going to happen until a few days before, but. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, he's such an absolute legend of the game, and someone who's done so well to put this whole thing together and be the face of it, because it's not easy being the face of it. And it's a credit to him, not only himself, but also his family and the support they've given him throughout the whole thing, because Beck is now, his daughter's taken over the heavy load of a lot of the speaking gigs and stuff like that, because he's not able to do that. So it's pretty incredible. Awesome to have, 80,000 plus people clapping him as he's coming off for, the sacrifices he's doing and what he's being able to raise for M&D whenever he's going through it at the same time. It was pretty incredible, and something I'm sure he really enjoyed.
And we always say it, but so selfless for a bloke that he could have spent the last 9 years just off living his life and to, give back and think about people in the future. It's just amazing what he's been able to do. 9 seasons, 9 years of this. It's amazing. Another $2.3 million raised. They wanted 2.
Incredible.
By halftime, they got 2.3. So just another amazing year. Let's jump into the game, because there is some dot points written down here, Mace, and we got to get to them. We got fan questions coming up too. I threw that out there. Got a couple of the same question. Now I'll let you guess which one that was about. But you did play against
Check the track.
You did play against your old mate, Brodie Grundy. So first touch, he got booed. Were you surprised?
Not surprised. I will say not everyone booed him. I don't know, there was like half and half, I feel like, but I think the noise of boo probably is louder than a cheer. But yeah, it's just part of football. It's people don't like to see someone else go to a different club, and I think a lot of people are understanding of the circumstance and what happened and the way it was played out, and that's fine. That's just how that's how sport is nowadays. Like it's not. People can say, oh, it's community stuff here and there, whatever it is, but like it's a business. It really is a business, and the business is trying to do what's best for the club and where they see the future going, and decisions are made, and that's part of football and it's part of sport. So I think as players, it was kind of unique to go up against them. I didn't text him or anything before the game. I thought about it. I was like, oh, should I get a little jab? Didn't say much. Didn't see him before the game. First time I saw him was probably in the center bounce, and I lined up against him, and he wouldn't look me in the eye because I was laughing, I think. He wouldn't do it. But he's a hell of a player. Great guy on and off the field. Just a good human, and it was interesting playing against him.
He had a couple of shots at goal, missed the first couple. But he had another one, and in the super slow motion after he kicks the goal, you can see you in the background with a big grin on your face, and I was like, is that because he's happy for Brodie to kick the goal, or was there another reason behind it?
No, I'm not happy the opposition's kicking a goal, Braden, but it was funny. He took the mark and I was in forward. Just kind of walked back with him, talking a bit of trash on the side.
That's
just
weird, unusual from you.
Unusual for me. Just a bit of fun between myself and him. And he ended up kicking the goal, so it was he shut me up pretty quickly. But it was good fun. And like after the game, we embraced and stuff, and just like had a bit of a laugh. And yeah, it's a unique situation. I think 5-6 years ago, we never really probably pictured that happening. But it's kind of funny now, and I'm sure whenever we sit back once both our careers are done, we'll kind of have a bit of a laugh at the few times we faced off against each other.
Now I got to check the tally board, because you did kick 100 earlier, and now I think you must be edging towards 200, because you're kicking a goal or two every game. Big old plugger Mason Cox up there.
I know about that.
Now you kicked another goal, and it looked like you wanted to talk shit, but the defensive unit from Melbourne kind of just turned their back and went in their huddle, and you like walked right up to him and went like, okay,
all
and
right,
then
cool,
just walked off. I was thinking, what did he say? And then it showed the super slow replay, and you said nothing.
I didn't say much. Well, it wasn't really on them because it was a ruckman goal, so I'd pushed down on Maxwell and then came back up. So I think they were kind of like, oh, well, it's not really my issue, to be honest. Fair call. But it was funny though. You go and you kick the goal, and not necessarily get in Max's face, but like let him know. And then we get to the center bounce, and we just kind of lock eyes and both just kind of cheekily smile at each other. It's like, you knew I was going to do it, right? It's like, yeah.
There was a few moments between you and Gorn. One was on the wing where there was this massive collision. I could almost
shit next to each other.
I could almost feel it out of my place. The ground shaking.
Was that the earthquake again?
Yeah, what's the earthquake?
Aftershock.
Just the two big slow blokes down on the ground after just colliding like big boulders. What was the feeling going into that? Were you thinking, oh, this is another spleen 2.0 coming up here?
No, I didn't realize he was there, to be honest. I
couldn't see the big fella.
I'm looking at the ball and I'm looking at the players to my right, and I knew there was someone in the vicinity. There's two people. I can't remember who was under us, but there's two people there, and I think he came from the other angle that I came, the other side, and went up to try to chest mark it, and as soon as it kind of like hit me, I'll just bang. You could just feel this collision kind of like shatter and hit the ground, and I'm sitting there looking around like, what the fuck just happened? See, look at Max, and Max is like, oh, and I'm like, fuck. Just get up, and luckily the ball's gone past us, where we could, get up and move on with it. But yeah, no one was injured, luckily, but it was a decent clash.
You're on the bench. Goggles off moment. You're done for the day. I could almost see you packing your bag and heading for the car. And then the umpire goes up to Darcy Cameron's like, mate, you got a little bit of claret coming down. You got to get off.
Yeah.
So they call up Mason Cox. Mate, come back to the ground. We need you back out there. What are you thinking? Heading into you got a minute left. You're heading back out onto the ground.
There's about 60 seconds left. Never finish a game until the siren goes, Braden. I'm not saying that like you keep putting me in that corner of like I was just giving up, but no, I was just sitting there, and you kind of knew that chances of you coming back on the ground, because we were playing a bit smaller, trying to get the ball going forward and playing a bit of a pressure game with limited time on the clock and trying to get a goal. So I was off, and Darcy was in the ruck, and then they kind of just sit there, and I see him, and they stop, and I'm like, what in the world? But he had blood rule before, so he had already done it once, and he comes off, and I was like, no, all right, I guess let's do this again. Let's go to center bounce. Let's do it. So I had to win that one, and luckily got it forward, and then got another stoppage, and then Nick Dacos kicked the goal around the corner and snapped one, and it was game on.
The heat was on. 30 seconds left. You're thinking, We've been here before.
We just had to get the center bounce out, and unfortunately they got the clearance, went back to Q, and that was kind of probably too much ground to make up to get back into the forward line. But yeah, I mean, there's always a chance until the siren goes. Like it was, I think, a kick in it. So yeah, you're going into that going, okay, we need to get something going here to try to get this into the forward line to give us a chance. And unfortunately, it went the other way, which is not ideal. But yeah, we just couldn't. We couldn't get the game plan we wanted. I feel like throughout the whole day, like it was a few mishaps here and there, but. We just maybe a step behind some of the parts of the game over the weekend.
Talk us through it. Like how did you see the game play out? Both teams were stifling each other offensively, and it was kind of just a real grind there for a bit. Opened up later in the game. How did you kind of see it playing out? And was it them not letting you get it on your terms?
I think like there was one point where it was just like stoppage after stoppage after stoppage. And you're sitting there going like, all right, let's get this out of this little bunch of people. But if you look at the scoreboard, like I think they had something like 18 behind. So if you look at that, and if they kick a bit straighter and stuff like that, like we were not even in this game. So they just played really well. It's credit to them. Like they showed up and they gave their best and played pretty well and pretty efficient. And I thought they were pretty clean on the day too, which definitely helped them getting through the middle and being able to access the back line. So yeah, it's a credit to them more than anything. But yeah, unfortunately, we just weren't able to get over the top of them.
Now, let's get into it. The question that everyone wants to know. You, post-game, Petracca, words were shared.
Words were shared.
Did you say that he can't cook for shit? Was this like a you thing? Did you start, what was said? Everyone wants to know what was said.
I won't go into it too much because we've had the conversation, Trac and I, after this, and he apologized and we shook the hand. He said, apologies, heat of the moment, we move on. All good, because these, words are said and whatever it is, and Max Gawn was sitting there between us as a captain in Melbourne, and it was interesting. I didn't really expect words to be shared at the end of the game, but they were, and it is what it is. I'm not really offended, to be honest. He just was hyped up from the win, as you do get, and we move on.
Max Gawn played peacekeeper pretty well. He was in there.
But it's like Max and myself and Brodie, like all the bigs, got a bit of love for each other. So it's like you respect whenever like they kind of are like, all right, like I'll be in between this. Like you're not going to sit there and go punching Max Gawn or anything like that because he's kind of a mate.
I do love, my favorite thing is when you get the full peacock chest up, but you know that you can look down on pretty much 99% of players in the league. Yeah. So that's always fun. It pricks my interest when I see that coming out. Now let's jump into a few fan questions because I put it out there. I said, last chance to get the big unit before he goes on break. So we got from Taylor, why'd you pick number 46?
46 was given to me. I never picked it. So 46 is a reminder of me of where I started and where no one gave me an opportunity to ever make it in this game. So it's a reminder every day going into the club to show how far you've come.
So you like the high number?
I like the high number.
Well, you're a bit disappointed that Braden Maynard gave his high number away for number 4.
Jeremy Howe's still over there with me. He's been around for a while, so he refuses to give it up.
Respect for the high numbers.
Marchek's over there too.
I love the high numbers.
Yeah.
Travis, this is a great question. Wants to know, were the boys sick? Because there was a lot about it throughout the week, and from all reports, about half the blokes turned up for training because the other half were crook.
No excuses for us losing, first of all.
That's not the question, mate. I'm asking if you were sick.
They played a really good game, but there was a bit of sickness going around the club. I had COVID earlier this week, so that was fun.
That was fun.
Pretty wild. I think there's a couple other boys I want to say that were quite sick, and we did have minimal numbers at the first training session this week, but like I said, there's no excuses from our side. It's part of football. Like these things happen, and sometimes whenever it gets into a club, it just kind of goes rampant because everyone's hanging out near each other, everyone's lifting the same weights. Like it just kind of ends up going through the whole place. So yeah, it was a unique, I guess, lead up to the game. If that makes sense.
You got to get on the Vita gummies or something down at the club because you boys have been sick since round 1.
I don't have a full spleen anymore because of that, and that's the one thing that kind of helps you get back to normal.
Every week, bloody, Darcy's sick, Pendle's sick, everyone's sick. We got to figure it out.
Week off should do it. Just clean the place. Just clean the whole place for the week off.
Meat pies. I think I know your answer to this, but Jesse wants to know what you thought on them. Meat pies.
Dog shit. So bad. I think the reason is, though, and this is the same thing with Vegemite, right? Someone gave me a very bad first experience, so it's forever bad in my eyes. Because my first experience was a cold meat pie at the footy in Geelong whenever they're playing North Melbourne. Very first experience in Australia. It was like cold, almost like rock hard in the middle. And I tried as much tomato sauce as I could on the top of it. It could not get that feeling and that disgusting taste out of my mouth.
Favorite celebration you've had so far post goal? That's by Charlie.
There's a lot of people bring up the cat claws. Yeah. That's a good one. But But I think the little Peter Pan, point after kicking one from 50, probably up there for the year. Few others, but yeah, that's the one. I think that's the one that sticks out the most.
It's a newie, but a goodie. Your fave AFL team theme song outside of the Collingwood theme song. That's by Leslie.
Fun fact about theme songs for clubs, almost 90% of them, American bands. Wouldn't believe it.
What about
Do your research. It's truth.
Brisbane is
all the
French.
new teams, not really. But you got obviously GWS and Brisbane and all that. But the older teams, all American hymns for World War II hymns and stuff. Very interesting. Little fun fact for the people out there. Yes, I know something about AFL. You don't.
Do you know Richmond's origin one?
Well, no, I don't care. But
It goes, row, 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 right down the river we will go, go, go.
I've never heard that song.
Oh, it's a banger.
It's a banger. Now, my favorite, GWS is kind of funny. I find that one just kind of hilarious. But
Big sound?
Yeah, the big sound from the west of the town. But Richmond's are really, like you mentioned it, I think Richmond's is cool because whenever I hear their theme song, what I think of is them running out, the drums playing, the banner. It's kind of a cool experience, I feel like, for them whenever they run out to the ground, and unique to any other club. And I think that's probably one of the reasons I like the actual theme song.
It's all the yellow and black. It's all the...
Yeah, that's cool too, yeah. I wonder when that started.
What's the worst?
I'm not going to say that.
Chuck it
I'm
out
a positive
there.
person.
Freo struggles a bit.
I mean, whenever you name your team the Dockers, I'm like, come on.
Let's jump into the next one. How do you keep your goggles from fogging up? That one's from Kendall.
Very, very custom. So the goggles have the lenses have holes drilled in them in different areas so that, there's a bit of ventilation that comes through. A lot of R&D, research and development with the people out in Colac, isports.com.au. Check them out. They're the ones that do my goggles. Absolute legends.
Surely they're doing all right now. You've given them a few points.
They've made me that many lenses. It's such I'm seriously, so much credit goes to them with them helping me out. But yeah, I've got different kind of unique holes and slits and stuff to make sure they don't fire up.
What's your biggest fear? I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Nealon.
Nealon, yeah. I'm afraid of heights. Afraid of heights and needles.
Remember the big chair when you sat on the chair and took that mini hang? Were you freaking out?
Yeah, a bit lightheaded. It felt like Drake on his album cover.
Views. Now, this one's a nice one. This is the last question. It's from It's Bella.
Yeah.
What's on for the break heading into the Bali?
I'm going to Bali. I was waiting for your reaction.
Are you allowed to go to Bali?
I'm going to Bali. I'm just literally, I've booked in 3 or 4 days just to chill out at a spa, relax, just be in warm weather, sit by the pool, do nothing. That is my version of a holiday.
Making Asada work for it, eh?
I need to update my whereabouts, actually. Good point. Thank you, Braden.
Oh, that's it for the questions. That's it for the podcast.
Thanks, everyone, for sending the questions in. Always happy to help, and appreciate everyone listening.
Now, we got to say on a serious note, prayers up for Basher Hawley.
Oh, yes.
That's he's unfortunately been involved in a car accident.
Broke his
pelvis. Which can't tickle, but hopefully it looks like he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So prayers up and wishing you all the best for recovery.
Absolute legend of a fella too, Basher.
It's our half-year break. How are we seeing the podcast? How are we seeing the performance from the Collingwood Football Club?
It's going really well. We've only lost 2 games from the Collingwood Football Club side of things, so everything's okay. But yeah, from the podcast side, man, it's been awesome. It's been great. Everyone listening in, we really appreciate, seriously, absolute legends. The community we're growing here has been awesome to be a part of, and it continues to grow. So continue to tell your friends and family and everyone else. I can't tell you how many people have come up and said, I love the podcast. It's so cool to see you doing what you're doing and all that. And there's a lot of people who have come up to me too, and they're like, you're that guy from TikTok. I'm like, oh yeah, I also play football. They're like, no, the guy from TikTok. And I'm like, okay, word. Yeah. But it's been amazing. Absolutely love it. What's your thoughts on it?
People are DMing us saying I shared it with my family and friends. I'm ramming it down their throat, which we really appreciate.
Keep ramming it down there.
Get it in there. So yeah, we really appreciate it. We really appreciate all the shares, the comments, the likes. Yeah, we're going off. Yeah, it's very fun.
All right, before we get out of here though, mad respect for Trac. Love you, bro. I got to put that in there. Bit of Kiss FM beef in here. Bit of Kiss FM beef between the two of us. Yeah, so it's good fun. And we are out for the week. I'm off to Bali, jet setting. See ya.
I'm not off to Bali.